Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Crane, and I am the program director for the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. And you are listening to Global Industry Spotlight. This episode is presented by Dell Technologies for Startups. Global Industry Spotlight is a conversational series where we talk with organizations, startups, artists, and people who are working in the creative industries. We are streaming live out of the Comcast Business Startup Studio, a space located at 2112 Chicago's first music, film, and tech incubator. Upcoming event. Friday, October 20th is our fourth event in a traveling series for Chicago's music industry, the Music Bloom. This edition will be held in Hyde Park at the Hyde Park Arts Center. In this edition, we will discuss management, sync licensing, branding, and marketing. Visit cceglobal.org to check this out. The last music blooms that we have produced have gone very well, and it's been exciting to learn and connect with the music ecosystem of Chicago. But today, our guest is Max de la Fuente, a young entrepreneur with a deep love for music, technology, and business that brings a wealth of experience to the table as a professional drummer and entrepreneur. Shout out to the drummer. With a background in recording, touring, and advising artists, Max co-founded Grooveless, a leading music tech startup serving as its CEO. Under his guidance, Grooveless has evolved into the largest music industry network in Latin America, connecting over 45,000 artists and 15,000 executives, plus 100,000 business meetings, both in person and virtual, for potential business ventures. Now, Grooveless has extended its business opportunities to the music licensing business by providing an AI where media, entertainment, and retail companies can find and license music in an instant. And music catalogs can join the marketplace in an easy and secure way. They have plus 1.5 million tracks in less than a quarter. Max has also co-organized 45 international music industry conferences in LATAM and in the US. I am excited to talk with my friend Max. Let's bring him in.
Hey Daniel, thank you so much for the intro.
Yeah, it's
For
great, and shout out to the drummers starting companies in the music industry.
yeah, there are a lot of drummers creating companies. I don't know why, but yeah, drummers have something in there.
There's something. It's definitely something.
Yeah,
Um, so you and I uh, first met, and Max, you've been a great connector personally for CCE in 2112 with the Chilean ecosystem and the Latin market, and you're such a great resource, even besides being running this company for kind of connecting the industry. So thank you for that. I would love to kind of begin the conversation in you making the decision to start Grooveless. How did that kind of come about, and what problem did you see in the industry that you wanted to solve?
yeah, that's cool because it all started because not just myself, but the other partners that I had at that time, we were basically musicians that were making different musical projects. We studied music. As you mentioned it, I studied drums. So once we started working with all these projects, we wanted obviously to go to different bars and restaurants or festivals to play, but we didn't have first the knowledge to get to those people and understand the business, and also we didn't have the connections. So obviously we saw that in every friend that we had at the time, and that's why we wanted to create this network at first, in order to connect the artists and musical projects that we were in, obviously, but also from our friends to all these different business opportunities in order to play in all those places, and start thriving with their careers. That was the initial idea. And over time we're discovering how all these different agents were looking for the different artists, understanding their needs, the way that they wanted to relate with all these different musical projects. So we had to invest a lot of time and with a lot of conversations to look for a solution that could at first help the artists, but also to understand the needs of these different agents in terms of of their musical projects as well. At the end, they are looking to sell music to someone else.
Yeah, and in terms of starting a network, What do you think is important in building a network of connection between artists and kind of the business industry? What's important about doing that, and how do you do it in an impactful way?
Yeah, so the first thing, and at least I will talk about the reality of Latin America because the US is a very different one. First, you have, for example, in the live music industry, you have all these festivals that are looking for artists. There are a lot that are working obviously with major artists, but there are obviously a lot of them that are looking for new artists, right? Because they are selling experiences more than the a particular artist. So once they are in that way, those were the ones that we were working with, because they were in this thing of creating this experience with a particular curatorial, with a particular music genre. And the other thing that was very important was to work with the music industry conferences, because in Latin America, at least, the way that the artists were being connected to all these different agents was by going to the networking events within these conferences. So that's why myself, I got into co-organizing all these different conferences in the whole region. We were working with them by understanding the goal of developing a particular territory, let's say, I don't know, Peru. So that particular conference in Lima, we're looking for Peruvian artists to have more opportunities in Peru in general, and also by having different opportunities with a particular agents from the countries that were close to Peru, right? Those that could be Chile, Bolivia, or Argentina. So we were very focused on teaching them how to get these opportunities and inviting agents from these countries. So the networking activity would be very focused on the goal of that particular territory, and obviously understanding the reality of the artist locally, because in some places the artists are basically not ready for an international career, for example, but they were more prepared for something more local.
And so, was that the beginning of Groovelist, where people like basically building accounts on the on the platform to connect with opportunities, or was most of this um, in-person kind of networking at the beginning?
So there were both things, in order to combine all these different parameters, etc. What we were doing was basically putting the opportunities from the different festivals at first, so the artist could have a profile and apply to all these different events. And regarding the music industry conferences, what we did was to create a tool where the artists and the agents could schedule in-person meetings, but
Hmm.
within these music industry events.
Yeah.
So all of them were creating profiles, and we were making the matches within the platform, so all of them could go there and see the potential match with a particular professional, and obviously the counterpart could accept or deny that meeting. So in that sense, that's how we started working with all these different music industry conferences and the different festivals, for both things: to apply for the opportunities, but also to attend to the event and have these meetings with the professionals. And obviously all the numbers that we got as results of these events uh, were great for the event organizers, because normally in Latin America all these conferences were funded by public organizations, so they
Okay.
got all the numbers in terms of how many meetings they got in the event, the impact of the artists that were able to close a deal with a particular
Ah.
professional. So all that data was very important to understand. Okay, so we got a main goal at first, and we were able to achieve that goal after the event.
And your experience, because this is a really important point and something that every organization or company that's trying to raise money, either with foundations or find sponsors, the first question is, what is your data, right? What are the numbers of your impact? How did you realize the importance of the data in terms of being with the company, right? What was there a moment, or were you just like, I see the value in this, and I can kind of build on it?
Yeah, of course. So unfortunately, we don't have like data in terms of the money that what was generated.
Mhm.
Uh, because of these meetings. But what we can say is that because of these different events, we saw over 65,000 applications.
Mm.
Those that were to apply for events. But also, for example, we are still working with the Ministries of Culture of Iberoamerica through a program called Ibermusicas, where they bring grants for different purposes for artists to make international tours, or, for example, to help researchers to make different things, or for festivals to invite international artists for their events. So what we know is that we have this amount of applications. We also have, for example, through these particular customers that we're working with, the amount that they are bringing each year, which is in this case for Ibermusicas, uh, a little more over $1 million a year that they are bringing to artists and people from the industry. And regarding, for example, other events, we worked with Lollapalooza, for example, or Levi's in Brazil. And regarding the music industry network, as you mentioned in the intro, we were able to make over 100,000 meetings, both in person and virtually. We're still doing some of them virtually because there are a lot of new programs that are appearing, uh, that are still looking to help the artists with new opportunities or connections that could help them over time. So those kind of things were like the most important things. Obviously, there are some industry conferences that, for example, would like to understand which professional were the most requested professional, for example.
Ah, interesting. Mm.
um, so they could know, for example, or if they were inviting international people, which country was more attractive for the artists that were participating, or if they were, for example, inviting international artists, we opened the opportunity for the whole region so they could understand which countries are more interested in making tours within a particular country.
And
So
and in general, in Chile and in Latin America, are most of the industry events and these showcases sponsored by, like you said, the Ministry of Culture? So there's not necessarily like for profits supporting these events. It's more, each country, has a pool of money from the Ministry of Culture that's supporting this endeavor.
yeah, in general, that's how the industry is being funded so far. There are a couple that have been able to get funds from sponsors, like private sponsors,
Right.
but mostly are funded from public institutions.
Okay. So let's start. So you start this company in Chile. You're now connected in Latin America with different industry meetups. How were you able to scale the business first in Latin America, and then we'll talk about your big transition to coming to the U.S. But talk about just what were some of the things that you felt you did right in scaling the business out of Chile into Latin America.
Yeah, so the strategy for that was very surprising for us. Obviously, when you are a startup, you are always looking for ways um, to get more business, even though that it comes from your country or from other places. You always have a focus, obviously, but as we started working with the music industry conferences, we saw that as there were a few of them in each country, we started working in very international way from the beginning. So, for example, the first conference that we worked with was one called Imesur, that was actually founded by one of the partners of Globalist. Um, and they invited people from the whole region. So we were able to start talking to other music industry conferences from other countries. There was one that wanted to work with us, like at that very moment, which was from Venezuela before all the things or all the bad things happened, which was called Finben. And the objective for them was to basically help the Venezuelan artists to go to other countries. They made a huge event. We had the opportunity to go there personally. where they were making, huge showcases. They had over 100 artists in the showcases. They made over 3,600, I think, meetings with, all those 100 artists, with, I don't know, 120 professionals from multiple countries, and not just from Latin America, but from Europe and from Asia as well. So then when we worked with Venezuela, we were able to work with other music industry conferences. We then jumped to Brazil to work with Musica Mundo, a conference that was held in Belo Horizonte, in Sao Paulo, which was a huge one. And then we started growing to other countries. That's how we started like meeting the industry, and obviously all the people that were attending to these conferences were joining the platform as well with their profiles.
Yeah. Um, it's interesting to think about too how in Latin America that there's a actual like Ministry of Culture that's supporting a lot of these endeavors. And one, as we learn with industry conferences, you kind of see the same people. Maybe it's you start to build a community. Like once you make the rounds, you're like, okay, like there's a community here. Um, Talk about now, like what the tool. So what the tool looks like with Grooveless. Where have you guys kind of changed or maybe not changed and kind of focused the business model?
Yeah. So at first, what we were doing is that we were charging all these organizations to basically pay for the recruitment tool, right? So they were able to put their application process within Groovelist, where they could add a custom form, with a lot of options and stuff. Uh, and once they received all the applications, they were able to, for example, manipulate the way that the judges could see the applications with all the data that they wanted to also, I don't know, hide other uh, important information, for example, or, making a very custom evaluation process. So they were able to create a lot of steps. For example, if they wanted to check at first if the applications were basically like applying for the basic things that they were asking for before passing the all the applications to the judges. So that was the first thing, and the second thing was for the conferences to have this tool to organize the business meeting. So they were able to invite people, to create accounts, to to see all how the process were going every time, to invite the artists,
Yeah.
etc. And obviously, the way that they were doing that before was, by creating the matches in a spreadsheet, which was a very impossible way when you want to manipulate a lot of data with a lot of people as well, because you had to understand what are the artists doing basically, and trying to match that with the needs of the different professionals that they were inviting. So that's what we were doing at first. Charging for those tools for the artist was always for free. We saw some, for example, here in the US, that were something kind of similar. For example, Sonic Beats or River Nation, that where the artist could basically go there and pay a subscription and then apply for the opportunities. But we always thought that, that wasn't the way that we had to do that. I mean, the artists, if they were going to pay something, they had to have something in return. That's like our the values that we have, at least. Because if they were paying and not and getting nothing out of that, it would be like a disaster, at least for us. And then we obviously
That's a
changed.
great I wanna stop just for a second. That's a great point, and I think it's admirable that that was a focus for you as a part of the company because when Sonic Biz, and Reverb Nation came out, I mean, it was an exciting tool of like, I'm gonna get access to the industry that I can't find, right? Especially if you don't live in major cities or have natural access. It's like, oh, you can apply for this festival. But I agree with you that the model of having to pay a monthly subscription, and you would be charged to apply for different things as on top of that, and not necessarily get any return, it doesn't make sense, right? It's not supporting the artist, um, and it's also you don't. I think there's something to be said about like providing resources or educational tools. I think they started to do that, but at first it was not. It was really just a kind of a platform where you applied for stuff. So that's, congrats to you. I also want to just, if anyone wants to learn how to, go to a conference and work the rooms, please follow Max around, because when Max is in conference mode, he is like on. I admire your tenacity, and also just how you're like, uh, you know, going to everything and talking to everyone and introducing everyone. Like, you really have a natural talent for that, and I think it's a skill that is important.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, we've seen a lot of musical projects that, I don't know, you can say that they are incredible, but just because they don't have like the networking tools to connect with more people that could help them to go to the next phase of their careers, I mean, they end up, dying. So that's basically one of the things that we always say to the artist. You have to first go to the conferences, learn a lot, and try to connect with everyone. I mean, even though that is in person or virtually, even in this particular event that we're doing right now, if you are there, chatting, try to introduce yourself. It's easy. I mean, you just have to say who you are and I don't know, a link to your project. And with these kind of things, you will be surprised of all the things that you could achieve just by doing that.
Yeah, I agree. And like, just to zoom out, just being an entrepreneur, how do you deal with like doubts or fear, kind of as you evolved the company?
Yeah, it's a great question because everyone has this. I don't know how to say it in English, imposter. But this it's a syndrome. I don't know how to say in English. I forgot that. But basically, when you have like,
Oh, imposter syndrome.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
So you always are thinking, hey, I'm doing the things in the right way. I'm the correct person for this. Uh, I'm in the good path to achieve what I really want. Um, but the cool thing is that the important thing to do at those moments is to understand, hey, what what is my mission or what I want to accomplish, and start remembering everything that you have done in the past. And one of the things that I always do is to basically to check if I've been doing everything I can to achieve something. And if I'm not achieving that, then what kind of things uh, can I improve? I know that it sounds kind of generic because a lot of people could say that, but at least for me is to stay, every time to start questioning myself is if I'm doing the things in the right way, and obviously trying to be very objective on the things that I've done so far. So for example, if we are not doing the sales that we really want, why we are doing that? I mean, why are we failing?
right.
Normally I buy some books for the things. I watch a lot of things in YouTube as well. I go to Medium. I try to follow people that have done the things that I want to get done. And then I start realizing, okay, so I'm failing in these points. And obviously, getting mentors is always an amazing thing to do.
Mhm.
Try to approach people that have more experience than you. Normally, for example, in my team is the same. Even though that I learned how to code by myself, and I was programming for the first version of Groovlist, I always try to get people that knows a lot more than me, because that is the people that is going to help me to achieve the goal that I have. And then you start sharing the same objectives with them. So yeah, that's been like a great source for me. We have, for example, three amazing advisors in Groovelist today. One of them is Steve Rousseau, who is the CFO of Columbia Records, which is part of Sony Music. The other one is George Macias, who was working like for the global division in the production music in Universal Publishing. And the other one is Travis, who was working for Ticketmaster and Live Nation. So everything that we are
Those are
doing,
great advisors.
those are amazing. I mean, we are still like wow.
Yeah,
So
that's a congrats on that.
thank you. So things that I always think about, like, wow, we've been able to attract these kind of people. It's amazing talent. The team
Y
is an amazing talent as well.
yeah,
So we
and
always put in doubt like the things that we're doing. Hey, what do you think about this? Give me your feedback, and we can share ideas and discuss about them instead of trying to be the person who has the reason of a particular thing.
yeah, I think all those things you mentioned, I mean, mentorship, important advisors, being able to accept your failure and look at it and see, what you can do, what actions you can take to, to make changes within the company. So you recently, I mean, I guess kind of recently, made the move to the US. Um, and can you talk just about that move and what it means for Groovelist and what the work is right now?
Yeah. So the first thing that we started seeing, after pandemic is that a lot of major labels were signing a lot of artists, in a very aggressive way. So we were thinking about like, why are they doing this? It was kind of weird. Um, but we realized that they were attracting more artists to get more catalogs. Therefore, we started understanding that they were preparing the land for the next phase of music licensing, at least in the US. And then we started talking to a lot of people from companies that were demanding music for licensing. Most of them in the US, obviously. And one of the things that we started realizing is that obviously there are like an infinite offer of music. But the problem for them was that they weren't able to find the perfect track for the projects. So we had like those different signals, one from the music industry side and the other one from the demand side. We also talked to different video game studios, post production companies, advertising agencies. And the main problem that they started having is that even though that they had a huge access for all this content, getting finding the perfect track was a very difficult thing. They were basically going to a lot of music libraries in order to find this track. So if they went to a particular one and they don't find what they need, they go to the next one and jump to the next one and so on. And if and only if they find what they need, they have to start the process of clarifying the rights, negotiating terms and stuff. So that was making them like to waste a lot of money. I'm sorry, and obviously a lot of time. And if all things went well, they could use a particular track. But if not, they had to start the search all over again, and going again to all this problem, right? So what we started doing, which was a very simple solution, but we're at least we're still like surprised because there are a little amount of platforms that are doing this. But we started gathering all these different libraries in one place, like creating a marketplace of libraries, or others have said like that we are doing like a library of libraries or catalog of catalogs. So we started working with them and started saying, hey, we could gather all the music, and then we integrated AI to find the perfect track within all these different catalogs, because at the end, the customer, it doesn't matter for them to know where the track came from,
Right.
but they are more uh, worried about finding the perfect track at the end. So it's the same what happened with the streaming industry, because at first we were buying CDs, buying different formats to listen to a particular artist, even going to their profiles in MySpace probably or SoundCloud. But what happened was that the DSPs came and they gathered all the catalogs in one place, so the users could go there and find any particular artist that they like, or any particular music in just one place. So that's how basically Spotify made a space for them, or SoundCloud, I don't know, Apple Music, etc.
Right.
And we believe that at least for music licensing, is going to be the same. I mean, Groovelist right now is trying to positioning itself as the Spotify for music licensing. As you mentioned in the beginning, in a quarter, we've been able to attract a lot of music libraries with a lot of tracks in a very fast way. But we think that they are going to appear the next Apple Music or Deezer, but for music licensing. I mean, it's going to be something that is going to happen in the industry in some way.
Yeah, it's interesting too with the music trend of people buying catalogs. Like catalogs are almost seem like the new currency a lot with, in the music industry. And like you said, there's kind of two issues. One, you can't find the perfect track, and two, you can't clear the track. And
Yeah.
so basically what you're proposing and putting together is a company that can do both. In terms of acquiring, catalogs or other libraries, are most of these deals like exclusive, where you own, like, what does the deal kind of look like, without giving out obviously too much information, but just in general, what is the process of a library approaching you and saying, hey, I want to be involved with Groove List?
Yeah, it's been a great thing because we have obviously reached out multiple catalogs, and obviously there are other catalogs that just come to us and start asking if they can be part of the marketplace. But in that sense, we've been like understanding that as they are making their own business, they want like distribution channels. So we
Right.
have a non-exclusive deal with them. We understand that as we're like or trying to be like the Spotify for this, and they're going to appear like the Deezer, so they have to be able to distribute their music for different platforms, just like streaming.
Right.
In regarding, for example, the music aggregators, uh, some of them have been collecting like a catalog from particular artists, but they are not like really plugged to these new particular platforms. I mean, we've been talking to different catalog management systems like Source Audio or Disco, etc.
Hmm.
And some of them are aware of this particular way of distribution, but it's like a, I don't know, a new concept for now.
Yeah.
Um, so we've been working with a lot of them to start creating the different, technical connections, different APIs to connect with them. So we will be able to start retrieving new artists and new tracks and with all their metadata, right? Obviously, there are other standards, for example, DDX that allows you to connect with different catalogs that they have all the metadata with that standard. So the thing right now and the challenge is to have like I don't know, like a Spotify, an infinite amount of tracks that would have the all the rights to license. And the next challenge in the future would be I there are a couple of challenges. The first one is to start working with major labels,
Right.
uh, major publishers, I would say, because all the artists have their rights split with a lot of other publishers or other composers, etc. So that's one giant challenge over time. And the second one is generative AI, because now all this music would be available over time as a data set. So creating new music would be something that the customers will ask for. We've been talking to a lot of them, and obviously they are already using tools for that, not for music but to create videos and photos for the
Right.
different campaigns, etc. There is a huge company that is from Chilean people, actually, that is called Runway. Now is they are like in like they are like a pioneer in the industry today. So if you people can find them, is Runway Machine Learning. And on the other hand, for music, it's not going to be different. I mean, customers have to be available to license music that is available for them right now, but also music that could be generated from all these different tracks. Now, the challenge, we have already a proposal for the legal side that I cannot reveal right now, but
Right.
like a way to create new music, but also to split the copyrights in a fair way with the artists that influence it in the new track. So we have already done like a first proposal for that, regarding like the influence of the tracks that are being used for the new output. But yeah, the cool thing for that is that is going to be like a new revenue source for artists.
Yeah.
And
It's
we
interesting.
yeah, we have to start thinking about ways to make the legal side to work, because I really think that it's going to be a new source of income for the artist without having to put much efforts, you know. So those kind of things I think that are going to uh, are going to happen with group list or without group list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really think that. So that's why we're working, very hard to um, to make uh, like to help the industry to move forward to that pace.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's definitely an interesting time in the music tech space. You know, and with the idea of how to, as you brought up, how to artists generate revenue, right? How are you able to build a career and also generate revenue with not a lot of work, right? Is there are there some tools where, people can have passive income instead of like constantly having to create or perform? Are there some new, I mean, there are, but I think it's going to be really impactful for tech tools to focus on that, right? For artists to find different ways to get passive income as they're growing their careers. What will you not compromise on in your career?
Compromise. Wow. Um, may I ask you if you can ask the question in another way just to
Oh
understand it?
yeah, for sure.
Sorry.
So I will, something with grooveless, or I'll never compromise. Artists having, I won't take advantage of artists. That's something I will not compromise on. Or
Oh,
something that in your career, it's like I won't do that. That's one thing I won't do. Or another example is I won't compromise on my team. My team is number one, stuff like that.
yeah,
So
those are very great examples, and thank you for clarifying.
yeah.
I said at the beginning my English is not that good. I am trying to do my best.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
your
there,
English is great.
there was. Thank you. There was one time that when we had customers in Brazil, I had to learn to speak Portuguese. But yeah, the examples that you did were 100% of the things that I would say, because for example, in what we have done so far, we won't charge anything to artists unless we do a particular service that they could buy. There was one time that we made in the pandemic, actually, like an accelerator for artists. So we took advantage of the professionals that we had in Latin America to help them to understand more things about the industry and how to make like a profitable career. And on the other side, complementing that with a virtual network. And so we were able to connect them with more opportunities and not just selling them more information that they could particularly find in YouTube or in Google, right? So we try to add real value. But other than that, all the businesses that we have done so far, it's been to helping artists. So you know, and just like the same value as we had in the beginning with group list, we won't charge artists, for example, if they are not making any money out of that. And on the
Yeah.
other side, our team has been, everything. I mean, the most thing that I would say in terms of, because people try to get recognition from, I don't know, particular other industry players, or I don't know, in terms of leadership. But for me, the best recognition that I could have is like the team joining to this particular mission and try to, and basically giving their hearts on this. That's the best recognition that I could have, because finding people for your idea is a very difficult thing. I mean, I've been for a lot
Yeah.
of years working with peers that we basically didn't share the values at first. There was like a long time that I was working alone. That's how I started, under learning how to code and doing a lot of things by myself. And then getting a new team was very challenging to me. So having a team that works with you, for me, is the best recognition, and that's something that everyone does has to value a lot.
Yeah, those are great answers, and I think it's great when artists, professional drummers, are building, companies that are like, hey, listen, we're not going to charge the artist uh, access fees, right? Like, which I think is really important for for just keeping the the musicians and the bands and the people creating and in a good space, right, and being able to connect with the industry. Max, it's been so great talking with you today. It's nice because we've always kind of run into each other in a conference, or like it's work mode, but it's nice to just sit down and have a conversation. Do you have a recommendation for a podcast, book, blog, something that inspires you personally or professionally?
There is one book that I have in here actually. This is called Principles by Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio is well, he has a hedge fund, one of the most important hedge funds in the world. He's from the US. But this book particularly talks about, well, a little from his life, about the failures that he had and how he faced those failures. But the most important thing is how to face a lot of things that we have personally in with our business, because the principles are like for work and for the personal life. Um, and the cool thing is that it helps you to create your own principles, so you could be able to understand your decision making process, and with that
Mm,
you can basically, well, he teaches you a lot of things in terms of how to deal with stress, for example. One of the things that I for me it's been great so far, and it's like seems the same thing with self-doubt or fears and stuff, is that you will never be able to escape to that. I mean, you have to get used to it. I mean, if
mm,
you don't want to be stressed in some time, just think that is something that is going to happen, every time in your life. I mean, in some point in your life you won't have, for example, money, so you will be stressed for money, and you would say something like, hey, if I have all the money, I would be happy and then not stressed for this. But then let's say that you have your first kid, so you will have stress for that, or you are having problems with your couple, so then you will be stressed for that. Or even though if you have a successful company, I've read a lot of, and I've been talking to a lot of successful people, fortunately, and they are stressed for other things. So that's never. So get used to
get used to stress.
best. Yeah, for any reason in your
Yeah.
life. I mean, it will be something that will happen. Even though that you have like a successful company, even if you had all the money from the world. So I've been in different positions, in scenarios where I didn't have like any money. Sometimes I had a lot of money for myself, and I had different, stress moments. It's
Yeah.
something that you cannot escape to.
Yeah,
Escape to. Sorry.
yeah, no, that's a great it's a great point, and it's something that I was even thinking about this morning because I have a lot of things on my mind, and like I'm a little stressed out, and it's like, how do you I think our natural inclination is to escape, right? How do I escape this stress? Like I don't want this stress right now.
Yeah,
Um and being able to accept it, one, and two, just realize, oh, this is a part of life. I don't need to be stressed about being stressed,
yeah,
right? It's just this is the moment and I have to get through it. Um Important, definitely important for entrepreneurs and people who are running their own businesses and building that. That's just a part of, a part of life. But yeah, that's a great suggestion. Well, Max, it's been wonderful to chat with you. I hope we get to hang in person soon. Wishing you all the best. Everyone, just go check out grooveless.co. Wonderful stuff. Max is a super knowledgeable uh, music industry person, and is building really accessible and forward thinking tools. So it's been wonderful to have you today on the program.
thank you so much, Daniel, for having me. It's a really an honor for me to be here. I mean, I've seen, all the people that you've been with in this whole seasons. It's great, and thank you for creating this space. It's amazing for the industry. We really needed something like this long time ago, and it's great, like people like you or like Scott that are creating all these organizations. Are you are doing something really important for the industry. And I really, I would say the people that were working in the industry will really appreciate the efforts that you're putting for this kind of thing. So, you know, I'm more than happy for to share things and be part of this. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
Thanks for saying that, Max. I really appreciate it. It means a lot coming from you. And we will definitely be in touch.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Daniel.
All right. Take care. What a wonderful conversation with our good friend Max from Groove List. He's somebody that you should be following. He is constantly learning new things, as you can tell. And watching how he works at a conference and how he connects people. He doesn't just think about himself; he thinks about others. He's connected us with some helpful people. So that's, I think, a really important part of growing your business and expanding what you're doing, is not just by thinking about yourself, but thinking about how you can help other people, and kind of how we can build a community around that is really important. Again, my name is Daniel Crane, and I'm the program director for the Center for Creative Entrepreneurship. And this has been another Global Industry Spotlight. We are streaming live out of the Comcast Business Startup Studio, a space located at 2112, Chicago's first music, film, and tech incubator. Thank you to Comcast Business, Shure, and Dell for the tools necessary and the resources to make this programming happen. Visit cceglobal.org to check out all of the events that we have coming up. The Music Bloom is in full effect. We got Hyde Park Art Center October 20th. We're going to be doing it at Segundo Ruiz Belvis Center on November 14th. And then the big summit is happening December 3rd, which we will be launching soon. Next week, Thursday, October 19th at 12 p.m., we will be talking with Rudosa Collective, a collective of artists working together to promote and curate multifaceted events, embracing music, art, and education. I met them at the Music Bloom that we did in Pilsen. So it's going to be great to talk with these young people who are building really wonderful events and tools. Again, wishing everyone a great end to their week. We will speak with you soon. So take care.